On February 19th, 1945, 70,000 American Marines landed on a volcanic island barely 8 miles long. They had been told it would take 5 days to capture it. It took 36. By the time it was over, nearly 7,000 Americans were dead. And of the 22,000 Japanese defenders, barely 1,000 survived. This is not just the story of one of the bloodiest battles of World War II. It's the story of two armies who refused to stop fighting, and the tiny island that consumed them both. This is the Battle of Iwo Jima. By late 1944, the United States had been island hopping across the Pacific for 3 years. Each island captured brought American bombers closer to the Japanese mainland. But there was a problem. The B-29 superfortresses flying from the Mariana Islands to bomb Tokyo had no fighter escort. They were on their own for over 3,000 miles. Damaged planes had nowhere to land. Crews that survived enemy fire still died in the ocean. Iwo Jima changed that equation. This tiny sulfuric island, a mere 8 square miles, sat exactly halfway between the Marianas and Tokyo. It had 2 airfields. A third was under construction. Control Iwo Jima, and American pilots had a refuge, a refueling stop, a lifeline. But the Japanese knew this too. General Kuribayashi was not like most Japanese commanders. He had studied in the United States. He knew American industrial power firsthand. And when he arrived on Iwo Jima in 1944, he made a decision that would change everything. There would be no banzai charges, no suicidal frontal assaults on the beach. Instead, Kuribayashi ordered his men underground. Over months, 22,000 soldiers carved 18 kilometers of tunnels through the volcanic rock. They built 1,500 bunkers, pillboxes, and artillery positions, many connected by hidden passages. Machine gun nests had overlapping fields of fire. Every approach to the beach was covered. Kuribayashi's orders were simple. Each man must kill at least 10 Americans before he dies. He was not planning to win. He was planning to bleed the United States until the cost of invading Japan itself became unthinkable. The island was ready. The Marines were coming. The naval bombardment had lasted 3 days. Over 22,000 shells had fallen on Iwo Jima. American commanders believed the island's defenses had been destroyed. They were wrong. At 9 a.m. on February 19th, the first wave of Marines hit the beach. Immediately, something was wrong. The sand on Iwo Jima is volcanic ash. Black, loose, impossible to dig or move through. Men sank up to their knees. Vehicles bogged down. Equipment piled up on the shore. And then, silence. For 45 minutes, the Japanese didn't fire a single shot. Kuribayashi waited until the beach was packed, thousands of men with nowhere to go, and then opened everything at once. Artillery, mortars, machine guns from every direction. The Marines were caught in a killing ground they couldn't see and couldn't escape. In the first few hours, the casualties were catastrophic. But the Marines kept moving, because stopping meant dying. At the southern tip of the island stood Mount Suribachi, a 168-meter volcanic cone bristling with Japanese positions. It commanded every inch of the beach. As long as it stood, the Marines below were exposed. For 4 days, men climbed its slopes under constant fire. Tunnels ran beneath their feet. Snipers fired from positions they couldn't locate. On February 23rd, a patrol of 40 Marines reached the summit. They raised a small American flag. A few hours later, a larger flag was brought up. A photographer named Joe Rosenthal raised his camera. The resulting image, 6 Marines raising the flag of the United States on the peak of Suribachi, became one of the most iconic photographs in history. Secretary of the Navy James Forrestal, watching from a ship offshore, turned to General Holland Smith. The raising of that flag means a Marine Corps for the next 500 years. But the battle had barely begun. Suribachi had fallen. But the northern 2/3 of the island was a nightmare of fortified ridges, ravines, and hidden tunnels. The Japanese fought from positions that could not be bombed or shelled. Underground, invisible, emerging only to kill. Marines learned to fight differently. They moved in small teams. Flamethrowers became the weapon of choice, the only way to clear tunnels and bunkers. Engineers used explosives to collapse entrances. Every cave was a potential ambush. The terrain had names that told the story. The Meat Grinder, Bloody Gorge, Turkey Knob. Day after day, the line moved. Sometimes by meters, sometimes not at all. On the Japanese side, Kuribayashi moved through his own tunnels, sending radio messages to Tokyo, knowing no reinforcements were coming. His men were dying, he was dying, and still they held. Of the 22,000 Japanese defenders on Iwo Jima, 20,000 died, most in those tunnels, most alone. Kuribayashi sent his last message on March 17th. He was never found. On March 26th, 1945, 36 days after the first Marines hit the beach, Iwo Jima was declared secure. The numbers tell a story that defies imagination. Nearly 7,000 Americans killed, over 19,000 wounded, 27 Medals of Honor awarded, more than in any other single battle in American history. On the Japanese side, fewer than 1,100 survivors out of 22,000. An annihilation. But did it matter? In the months that followed, over 2,400 B-29 bombers made emergency landings on Iwo Jima. Estimates suggest the airfield saved the lives of 24,000 airmen who would otherwise have died at sea. The island that consumed nearly 30,000 lives may have saved tens of thousands more. Admiral Chester Nimitz captured it best. Speaking of the Marines who fought there, uncommon valor was a common virtue. Iwo Jima did not end the war, but it broke something in Japan, the certainty that the home islands could be defended. Less than 6 months later, 2 atomic bombs fell. Japan surrendered. The tiny sulfuric island in the Pacific had played its part. If you want to understand why World War II unfolded the way it did, subscribe to War Origins. Every week, we go deeper into the battles that shaped the world.